Do we have a quorum, Madam Clerk?
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Great. First item up is report of action taken in closed session. Trustee Brown?
At tonight's closed session, the board voted to approve the appointment of the following public employee contracts which are subject to contractual agreement by the Chancellor. Salaries are for informational purposes only and are not voted on by the board. Recommendation to appoint Lasana Hotep as Dean of Special Programs and Grants, Merritt College, effective November 19, 2014 through June 30, 2016, at $118,651 annually. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Recommendation to appoint Amy H. Lee as Dean of Enrollment Services, College of Alameda, effective November 19, 2014 through June 30, 2016, at $123,810 annually. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Recommendation to extend the appointment of Myron Jordan as Interim Dean of Academic Pathways and Student Success, College of Alameda, effective December 24, 2014 through January 30, 2014, or until the position is filled on a regular basis, $113,493 annually. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Recommendation to appoint Karen Engel as Director of Economic and Workforce Development, effective November 19, 2014 through June 30, 2016, at $144,445 annually. 4 yes, 3 noes, 0 abstain. The board adopted the arbitrator's decision in the disciplinary matter of a classified employee. 7 yes. Mr. President, that concludes the closed session readout for tonight.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second it.
Is a motion to approve the agenda. That have a request without objection to remove item number 9 from the consent calendar to be considered at a future board meeting. It's consider approval of resolution 1415-17 excusing student trustee absence. Any other items? Trustee Gonzalez, yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to move the following items to the action calendar for discussion, and that's items 24, 25, and 26. 24 is the side letter on the project labor agreement. 25 has to do with purchasing some portable buildings, and 26 has to do with some contract work dealing with some chem labs over at Laney College.
Without objection, number 24, consider approval to include a side letter of the approved project labor agreement between the district and Alameda County Buildings and Construction Trade Council is moved to the action calendar. Item number 25, consider the approval of purchase of 2 existing portable buildings located at the District Administrative Center from Williams and Scotsman. And then number 26, consider approval of resolution 415-16, accept bid and award contract for Laney College Building A Chemistry Labs. Those are 4 items to the action calendar. Any other items? Seeing none, so moved without objection. 24, 25, and 26. The next item is we move on to consider approval of regular board meeting minutes for October 21st. Is there a motion to
I'll move that.
the minutes?
I move that.
That was moved by Trustee Riley, seconded by Trustee Galassa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Move on to the next item, which is public communication. Do we have any speakers, comments from the public this evening? Trustee Brown.
Yes, we have Janelle Hampton, Pat Reed, Dylan Alter, Anna Roy, Matthew Goldstein, James Blake, Lynn Williams, Helena Lingle, and Molly Sealand.
Press the red button. Ta-da! Hi, board, welcome. Where's our newest trustee? Juliana, okay. Oh, my bad, not yet. But still, good job all. I wanted to say thank you for being here so diligently, Board of Trustee meeting after Board of Trustee meeting, And my name is Janelle Hampton. I am a part-time teacher of English at Merritt and Laney College, Chancellor. Also, I'm also newly elected representative for the faculty at Laney College, which is really exciting. I'm here talking about something that we've all talked about before. Just the position of part-timers at Peralta Community College District. Together, historically, management and faculty have come together and created a very strong contract for all of us to thrive in. And the real problem comes when parts of that contract are not upheld or honored, and the spirit of that contract is not upheld and honored by all involved, both sides. So I'm here tonight to say that the issue of part-time position in community colleges and contingent faculty across the nation is growing. We are coalescing. We are no longer isolated. And Laney has a real opportunity, and Peralta, therefore, has a real opportunity to come out as leaders in creating a healthier place for students to thrive in their learning communities, for all faculty to succeed in their learning communities, but it's not going to happen if we don't follow and the agreements that we all came together and negotiated. So we have an opportunity to settle a case that is potentially going to arbitration regarding Cynthia Mahabir and Matt Hubbard. What happens when cases, grievances go to arbitration? It costs money. We just settled as a district a wrongful termination case for $1.5 million. That's 300 sections. That's rough. When I think about all the students clamoring for ad numbers and my signature every semester, semester after semester, it's difficult to think about spending huge amounts of money on situations that could be avoided if we just agree to settle. Every one of you are sitting at this table because you have influence, power, intelligence, and capability. Be like water. Find the fissures and the cracks. Bring us together. Find a path to settlement. Everybody wins in that way, because whatever the concerns are on either side, faculty or administration, we have all previously worked together to create a way forward. Also, for your information, the awesome community radio station, KALW, recently had on their program, City Visions, they hosted a bunch of contingent faculty. And they were representatives from the national parties that are bringing together the coalition of contingent academic laborers, and the new faculty majority were there. Our own Cynthia Mahabir was there, and other representatives from Peralta were there.
I just wanted to say, Ms. Hampton, your 3 minutes is up. Was there someone else that was?
Pat Reed, Seeds Are Time.
Pat Reed, Seeds Are Time.
Thank you, Pat. I know that was short notice. So they all sat down at the table on City Visions, and they talked about the growing concern about part-timer positions, contingent positions across America. And our own Dylan Alter has gone through the trouble of duplicating, or whatever you call it these days, that exact radio show, and she has a copy for all of the board members. And I know that, is anybody here representing Laney today? Right here. Let's make sure that Dr. Webb gets that if you don't mind. And what you can do is listen to not just stories, but studies and facts that bring up the idea again and again that a faculty working environment is a student's learning environment. And here again, how deeply impactful part-timers are in students' lives and student success. And seek the way of coming together and creating harmony. We have a lot of important things on our horizon. We have negotiations. Well, forget it. We have years and years and years of working together as a team. This is an opportunity for all of you to show where you stand when it comes to moving forward in peace. Part-timers are now 75%. What you'll find when you listen to this radio station, is that due process applies not just to tenured faculty, but also to contingent faculty. Every worker deserves due process. You'll also find that the majority of contingent faculty members depend on part-time employment as a source of livelihood. It's not a hobby for most of us. For the vast majority of us, it's not a hobby. It's our livelihood. We are now, as in contingent labor, 75% of faculty nationally, and we are pretty close to that at Peralta. And there's a growing movement that destroys isolation between districts and brings us all together, bringing this whole concept to the forefront of academia. One of the desires of contingent faculty is to gain secure employment, if not tenured employment, at least secured employment. And the good news and the sad news is that students are starting to get it too. This is no longer something anybody wants or can keep from students. Some of their favorite and most effective teachers, as you heard from students before, are contingent employees. We make a good difference and we make a big difference, and we deserve what job security we negotiated in our contract. One of the most powerful quotes from this radio program that if you take the time to listen to it, I know you all will, that's how committed and diligent y'all are. One of the coolest quotes from there, one of the most powerful quotes from there is this: educational institutions need a high level of continuity and participation by faculty in order to ensure student success. So it is ironic that colleges are a majority contingent faculty. That's the majority. It's not just ironic, it's also antithetical. It's also not intuitive. So each one of you has your part to play, and we're going to play our part too. Please reach a settlement. That's what we're asking. And I want to thank the part-timers organizing for change for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of our organized part-timers. Have a nice evening.
Matthew Goldstein?
I'll pass.
James Blake?
Trustee Brown, Lynn Williams will be surrendering her time. Good evening, trustees, administrators, and presidents and audience. The reason why I'm here today is that it's another time for us to do a little self-reflection on what it is that we do at Peralta. And we need to start beginning to take what we do very seriously. I'm challenged by many things personally. One of the things of which is that I was a strong supporter, and still am a strong supporter, of the Chancellor's commitment to change the culture that we have at Peralta. Some people have difficulty trying to understand what that culture is, but it's really us and how we manifest our behaviors in the course of doing our business, hopefully serving students, but oftentimes it becomes problematic. But would like for you to consider a question. How can we seriously entertain that we will be okay if we refuse to follow the course that ensures the best possible outcomes? We do have laws, codes of conduct, operational procedures, ed code, accreditation standards, board policies, and administrative procedures. But we're challenged. And why we're challenged is something that one of our lady colleagues shared with me, and that we all lie. We're not perfect. We have certain justifications that why we do it, but ultimately it's in our nature. And because of that, we need statutes of control that control our behavior. Otherwise, we'll have chaos. So it's helpful to always check that we are in compliance with our mission objectives. Unfortunately, some of us operate on personal statutes. We succumb to the axiom of absolute power corrupts absolutely. Oftentimes, our students are plagued by what I call phantom policies. They are told to follow policies that don't exist anywhere in writing, not part of any standard of operation procedure, nor have been approved through shared governance process. but yet the things that they are trying to accomplish and furthering their own success is oftentimes blocked by what many see as an abuse of power. Staff members oftentimes try to be very proactive and engage with other administrative leaders throughout the district and at their college centers, asking for direction as to how they might achieve an objective. They follow the instructions that they're given to the letter, only to be told after all the effort and all the time invested that the person who is the decision maker has changed their mind and prefer another option. Oftentimes, this is after months of activity that has been done, not only by the staff members, but also by the vendors that they need to commit to getting proposals together and things of that nature. And are told simply, I prefer a different method. It's not that what they did didn't comply with all the codes and all the regulations, but someone used a personal preference to say, I want you to do it this way. Many see this also as an abuse of power. I can go on and talk about how faculty and staff and students are plagued by this on a daily basis. But have anyone ever considered the impact that this culture of truth has on our students? Oftentimes, this really supplants student success. Oftentimes, our need to get something done is immediate and should be done with expedience, but oftentimes it is blocked and they run into these barriers that really make no sense. I have seen and heard our students, staff, and faculty get frustrated and disillusioned by this reality. So we're really pressed to consider a couple of questions. Who is going to be the stewards of our mission? Who will have the courage to challenge the decisions that reflect personal bias and protect the mission objectives? Who will become the true protectors and advocates of our Peralta students? I challenge all of us, if we can't answer this call, we should consider another career choice. Because in order for our students to be successful, we need to be advocates of them, advocates of our mission, and making sure that we're functioning in a way that reflect that we understand the scope of the laws and the principles that we are supposed to operate under. And that is always more important than our personal opinion. At times, in my own particular position, I've been challenged. I've been called names that are not my given name because I follow rules. I follow them for a reason, because it's only through structure can we do something that is worthwhile and meaningful and direct. But I oftentimes always have the door open because people find that I do not take those encounters personally, because I tell them, frankly, the day that I take something personally and can no longer provide you with the service that you are due, it's the time for me to leave. I don't have a choice in the matter. That is why I work here at Peralta. That's what we should wake up to every morning. We are here to enable our mission's success. We are not to impede or to supplant or undermine.
Like both the 3-minute sessions have expired?
Another 30 seconds, I'll be done. So I'm tired oftentimes with people saying that they feel sorry for Laney. But I really feel that if Laney fails, Peralta fails. It's in the best interest of all the Peralta employees, trustees, to see to it that our mission objectives are achieved and not supplanted by personal bias. Thank you for your time.
Helena Lingle and Molly Sealand.
Hello, board members and Chancellor. I haven't been up here for a really long time. So I'm here today because I want to talk a little bit about the process that Peralta has for investigating complaints that are happening within the workplace. In in the SEIU contract, we have a clause that states that the district will provide a work environment free from hostility and intimidation. And I think that's a pretty powerful statement. Also in our contract, it states that any complaints are to go directly through the HR department through the investigative process that is defined according to board policies and administrative procedures. Now, I have a great respect for the process that we go through because the district does a lot of work and goes to a lot of effort to hire an independent investigators to look at these individual situations. What I would like to be discussing about this process is that has come to my attention as a chief steward that there are some problems within this process. One of the problems is that in general, not always, but in general, it's really a lengthy process. It takes 6 months, it often takes 6 months to over a year to have an investigation be completely evaluated and determined with investigative findings. During this period of time, members are subjected to very stressful environments, and it's often aggravated by the process of filing a complaint. Many times, relationships within a department change when this process occurs, and whole departments can become dysfunctional because of a lack of paying attention to what is happening in that department. The union usually becomes aware of this when it escalates. Sometimes people bring it to us and sometimes they don't because it is a confidential process. But it makes it difficult for the union because it's a plus and a minus. It is important that it remain confidential, but at the same time, we can't always be there to assist with the process. So there's a couple of other items that we have found occur. Sometimes the investigation, even though they are done with the best of intentions and an independent investigator is brought in, the people who are doing the investigation, talking about culture, James, sometimes they don't have a background in Peralta, and sometimes that's a plus and sometimes
Excuse me,
it's a
Ms.
minus.
Lingle, your 3 minutes has expired.
Okay, I'll wrap up.
Name? And you're Molly, okay.
Oh, okay. Sometimes, even with the best efforts, the investigation doesn't actually get to the root of the problem. So the investigation doesn't solve the problem, and the problem continues in maybe a different form or a more difficult form. So just that this has come to my attention because I've been working with a number of these investigations over the last year, I would like to propose to the district that we would be interested in generating a working group to look at the deficiencies of the process and see if there are things that we can improve, that there might be things that could be done to target or identify difficult situations before they get to the point where there is a formal complaint. And I just put that forward as a member of SEIU that we want to work in partnership with the district to improve this process, hopefully so that we can get something that doesn't take an entire year to result in a determination for our members. And thank you for your attention. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speakers?
I'd like to recognize our new trustee-elect, Julina Bonilla, who's here. Stand up, Julina, so everyone can see you. Welcome.
If there's no objection from the board, I'd like to ask that we, at this time, consider item number 24, which we have a public speaker item on. Is there any objection from the board?
No objection.
Seeing none, we're going to move to item number 24, go out of order. That's under facilities. Item number 24 is consider approval to include a side letter to the approved project labor agreement between the district and Alameda County Building and Construction Trades Council and related signatory unions. The presenter is Vice Chancellor Caro.
Yeah, as the board and the Chancellor has requested, the Department of General Services went out to negotiate with the Alameda Board of Trade and Construction to have a side letter to the contract that was already approved by the board. The intent of that side letter was to be able to see that the district is able to have policies that will be able to benefit our students, both in terms of apprentice program and in terms of recruitment. And what we have been put forward before the board is to be able to approve this side letter so that implementation will begin. The administration will work out the modalities of implementation when this is approved. I did speak with Andre Arias earlier on today, and the union is going before all its membership, the different trades, to be able to sign off on this side letter. They are almost there, but there are some few items that need to be tweaked so that we want to bring this item back at the next board meeting to be able to have a final vote on it. That was the recommendation that the union were requesting for at this point. Otherwise, going by the last board meeting, what we have before the board right now is the best standard that there is in the state. In other words, I contacted most of the colleges in Southern California, see what they were doing before Jake Sloan put together what we have currently. So the implementation of the student part of it, the curriculum part of this, that will enable students to be able to gain employment when they are done with their program directly, and to be able to include them when we are going out to do a bidding process with the contractor, because it's the contractors that has the key for employing students, either to shadow them when they are doing construction, or when they need to hire these students and pay them as part of a requirement for specifications that need to be on future bids.
We have a public speaker on this item.
Mr. Andreas Culver?
Good evening, board members and staff. My name is Andreas Kluver, Secretary-Treasurer with the Alameda County Building Construction Trades Council. And I think, as Dr. Acaro said, we have, go back in terms of when this board decided to extend the existing agreement we have. We fully committed to actually going into the local hire component, the workforce development component, and strengthening that. We've had a couple sessions now with the representative from the district that has proposed us the new language. We met on that. We are in pretty much 90% agreement, I would say substantial agreement with those points that were presented. There was a delay because I had to go back to all my affiliates and make sure that they fully bought in to the new process, to a more rigorous standard in terms of bringing on graduates of the Peralta Community College School District and first period apprentices to be working on the projects. And actually today I got that full approval from my executive board. So all we need to really do is just finalize the language, and I think I just scheduled a session on the 26th, I think next week, so we would actually go and finalize the language on the side letter to be able to present a full consensus agreement, I believe, for the next board meeting, which is on the 8th. So I'd say we're very, very close to doing that, and we would hope to have that final document come to this board for the board's approval on the 8th.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to, given the report from Dr. Caro and Andreas, I'd like to ask that we have this item brought back to the board for at the January 8th meeting for consideration. Is there a second to that motion, please?
second, so you can have questions.
So you need to,
I'm sorry, December 8th meeting. I'm getting ahead of myself. At the December 9th meeting, actually.
could I just be directed to?
December 9th meeting.
Trust-
is there
Could I
a
just be
motion?
directed to the, to the chancellor to bring that back, or do we need a vote on it?
We need a vote on it because it's on our consent calendar.
So moved.
There's a motion, second, without any objection. Trustee Gonzalez, Yan?
So I had raised some questions in the last one. We've got folks from building trades here. I don't know whether Mr. Sloan is in the house, but this might be an opportunity to ask and answer some of the questions that I'd raised. I'm fine to defer to staff if they would like to put into writing responses to the questions that I raised, but I think that's more time-consuming for them. So I'm fine to vote on this and put it off. I'm totally good with that, but I'd like some discussion on this issue before we just dispose of it, as long as we've got folks in the house, if the body does not object.
So I guess this is the time for those discussions. There's a motion on the table, and we're in discussion now. So why don't you ask your questions, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kluver, thank you very much for coming, and I'm going to probably have some questions for you as well as for staff. And Mr. President, I'm not sure whether I should direct these questions to you or to the Chancellor, or how would you like to?
I would like you to direct the questions to the Chancellor for him to
All right.
figure out who's going to respond to them.
You know, at the last meeting, I'd asked this question about best practices. I hear from Vice Chancellor Caro that, in fact, this is sort of state-of-the-art, and that would be great. It would be fabulous for me, personally, to see, in fact, what other districts, in fact, are doing. So just as a baseline, if you've done consultations with other districts, to actually then see what are other districts doing. And in particular, you know, there were 3 areas that I had raised questions about. One has to do with the number of apprentices that we might get, and you know, whether that's a good number, whether it's not a good number. Second question has to do with the enforcement mechanisms. So the language that's written in right now, Chancellor says that, you know, parties will engage in best faith efforts, good faith efforts, and so forth. So what happens if that doesn't happen? What is the district's recourse if, in fact, we come down and there are no apprentices and they say, oh, well, we tried? So that's the second one, and how does that compare with other enforcement language? And then the third one is, it strikes me that this is just an amazing opportunity for us to introduce the building trades to our students. You know, the trade union movement is not that well known, unfortunately, in this country. And so we have a lot of our students going through our trades programs. They have no idea what a union is, how a union works, why they might want to be part of a union. And then the other opportunity is, how would they get into apprenticeship programs? What's the pathway? Now, a couple years ago, I went down, and I think Trustee Brown did this a little while ago as well, went down to a really amazing training facility that the IBEW runs down in San Leandro. And they have an agreement with Chabot College where, you know, apprentices going through that program get Chabot College credit, et cetera. And I had asked at the time, well, why can't we do that at Laney? That's a great idea. Love that. And if nothing else, we've got an amazing program at Laney College, which is training people in very similar, if not identical, trades practices. Can we begin to align our curriculum better with the building trades unions? And at the time, I was told, nah, we're really not that interested in doing that. I don't know whether, in fact, that's the current case, but it seems to me that that curriculum alignment should or could be part of this PLA. If we're saying we want to line up the apprenticeship programs, can we line up the curriculum better? Can we work hand in glove so that our students understand the trade union movement and they also have access to these great trades jobs? So how does that compare? And if you know, if the folks from building trades want to respond, that'd be great. Or
Actually, it's direct those questions to the
so,
Chancellor. And
Chancellor, those are my questions. And
Chancellor?
Well, we're taking a note of that, and of course, since we are coming back in our December meeting, we'll have responses to all the board members before that meeting, so that you at least have answers to those questions. Unless, Andreas, you have any comments you'd like to make today, or?
Yeah, I do, and I'll try to be very brief.
Can you hit the red button, please?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, I'll try to be very brief on, I think, the three points that the trustee raised. In terms of the language and bringing a new apprentice, we're operating off of a basis where there is now a requirement for contractors to hire what we're calling these new apprentices, which are either graduates of the program or folks that have gone through other pre-apprenticeship, certified pre-apprenticeship programs. And we've had this in project labor agreements with Hayward that have been very successful with the school district, with the city of Berkeley on the Oakland Army base. We've got a good track record of, and we've got a minimum threshold of for every $1 million the contractor will be required to bring on one of these new hire apprentices. And it's a model that's been actually pretty successful. And you know, the challenge is to make sure that the community college and the pre-apprenticeships are doing the workforce development, which you guys are doing through your programs. In terms of the enforcement mechanism, there's arbitration provisions within the agreement to enforce that. So if the district feels the contractor is in violation, they can go through a grievance process to file a grievance against the contractor that ultimately will end up in arbitration. So an arbitrator will look at the facts and make a decision, and normally will apply what we in the industry call the Alcan remedy. So for every hour that one of these students or graduates should have worked that the contractor didn't hire them, they would have to pay that penalty for the hours worked. And then that funds would go and probably go into workforce development. But that's the mechanisms that's used. On the final area, I would say we're really entering into a new partnership and really strengthening the partnership that we've had ongoing. And there's a lot of language in here in the side letter that talks about really strengthening the relationship between the district's programs in construction and the trades to really create a seamless pathway for those graduates that are coming out of the program to get into the trades. I think that's been an element that's been missing. And we've really tackled that through contractual obligations in this agreement to address that. So I think, you know, it's really strengthening that partnership and making sure that the folks that are going through the program are getting into the apprenticeship programs into real middle-class jobs and and careers. I don't know if that answers the questions.
Thank you. It answers part of them, and then just that last question around curriculum. I just don't see any language in the side letter at this point in the draft that's in front of me that addresses that. And maybe there's a side letter that I haven't seen dealing with those curriculum matters, but I will leave that to staff to work out, and if we can have some response, I think it's in the best interests of everybody concerned.
Well, I would think that, you know, all of our programs have industry advisory groups, and in Laney College, trades programs. I do believe there are representatives on building trades, et cetera, and that's the influence on the curriculum that I think you're asking for. It may not be in the PLA, but it is in our substance with our curriculum, each one of these programs, and that's my take.
Great, thank you. At this point in time, we're going to move this item. This item will be moved off tonight's agenda to the December 9th meeting without objection. So moved. Thank you so much. We're going to return back to the regular order of business, which is Associated Student Government reports. Do we have representatives from Associated Student Governments tonight to give reports? If you would come up to the podium here, introduce yourselves and give us your report, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Katie Miller, and I'm the Senator of Information and Organization Systems for Berkeley City College. I would like to thank you all for extending the opportunity for me to speak here today. The past month has been very busy yet successful for the ASBCC, thanks to the support of our college staff, administration, and the Peralta District faculty, and all other contributing constituents. Some recent events that our college put on included the Latin American Club's Hispanic Heritage Month, where they discuss the contributions and inventions that Latinos have made to this country. International Day, where the international students at BCC put together posters and stations for countries around the world and had Peace Corps volunteers talk about their experiences. And a Halloween event where students could go to tables hosted by clubs and other BCC service communities and obtain information about what they do. Some more recent events that we're put on were the Town Hall for the Student Equity Plan hosted by the Black Student Union, the Student Success Panel where they discuss student services in underserved populations, and most recently, the ASBCC sent 4 representatives to the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. I was one of the 4 that attended, and we voted on resolutions such as Sustainable Mental Health Services Program, supporting credit by exam, and reform on Prop 13. Some future plans that are in the works for the Student Education Plan and the ASBCC-sponsored Town Hall, and finally, the Cocoa and Cram event for Finals Week hosted by the Civic Engagement Club. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Adrian Jackson. I'm a senator for ASMC, Merritt College. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Chancellor, President, and public. ASMC would like to provide you with the current events that we've done. We charter clubs and changes in the official office of student activities. Our advisor has been changing and implementing policies and procedures to improve our efficiency. Presently, we have an increase in our active clubs to 15. Also, our inter-club council has been planning future events to increase campus life. We had Bobby Seale, who came to speak at Merritt on 10/21. We had our swear-in on 10/31 of the new leadership for ASMC. We celebrated Dia de los Muertos on 11/5. We brought the party people on 11/10, a continued celebration for the Black Panthers through Theater of Arts. Our accountability count is we have a food giveaway on 11/1. BSU gamers, we had them this past weekend, which was a really great turnout. We assisted with BSU to have gamers come in and play the different games that they are really good at. The SMC and Criminal Justice will be doing a turkey giveaway on 11/22. We have the Chemistry Club, which will also be having a midterm Jeopardy. It's a game like Jeopardy on 11/25. We have 15 official clubs, and one is the Ability Counts, Altazar, BSU, Business Leaders, Chemistry Club, Fellowship of Christian Students at Merritt, First Year Experience Impact, Horticulture, International Students Association, Nutritional Club, Patchwork, Phi Theta Kappa, Puente Club, Tobaccolist Club, and Unity Club. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Do we have any other student representatives this evening? Seeing none, thank you for your reports. Next item up is Chancellor's report. Chancellor Ortiz.
Thank you very much, President Guillen. I'd like to start my comments by also congratulating our new trustee, Julina Bonilla, who's back there somewhere. I can't see her, but welcome, Julina. I also want to congratulate our board president, Abel Guillen, who is moving on to the Oakland City Council, and our loss is their gain. So congratulations, President Guillen. And of course, I cannot forget about congratulating 2 of our sitting trustees. Trustee Riley, congratulations on your election, and Trustee Handy, who won in a landslide her election. So I want to congratulate all of us, actually, because we have a great board, and we will move this district forward in the next, what would you say, Linda, 4 years, 4 more years. I want to congratulate the district for its 50th anniversary celebration that we had at Merritt College. I guess it's a couple of weeks now. Thank you, President Ambris Galaviz, for hosting that reception. It was a great affair. We had the naming of the new Science and Allied Health building to Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and she's very excited. We were all excited, and it was a long time coming that we recognized Congresswoman Barbara Lee for all her contributions to the Peralta District. Around that same time, we also celebrated I attended the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Unity Council. Those of you who are familiar with the local Unity Council is actually a unity of all agencies, all ethnic groups, and Chris Iglesias, who's their executive director, has put together a fine organization that we are proud to be part of. And lastly, I want to mention that I've been approached and I've entered into negotiations with UC Berkeley. They're asking for the Peralta colleges, in particular Berkeley City College, to participate in a special program for international students. But unlike the international student population that we have here, what UC Berkeley is suggesting that we take our students, enroll them in an international program at UC Berkeley, and they become international students in other countries. So with the help of Berkeley City College, we may even have a facility to house their staff and our staff to take our students from all 4 colleges and to an international arena. So that's a very promising program that we'll be working out the details in the near future. That concludes my report, although I do want to tell everyone that I did go to my granddaughter's Halloween parade, and it was a lovely affair, even though it rained on us, but it's always good to do family things. With that, I'll introduce our president for College of Alameda, Dr. Gravenberg, who will give us a quick update on the Veterans Services program that's being developed at College of Alameda. Dr. Gravenberg.
Thank you, Chancellor Ortiz. Board members, colleagues, I want to really share with you tonight some of the things that are happening over at the College of Alameda, but let me give you a little bit of context. I think we all, at all of our colleges, recognize the great support and contributions of our servicemen and women and have various kinds of programs to assist them. At the College of Alameda, this idea has really started on 2 levels. First, with former President Dr. Jackson, and also with the support of the faculty and staff. It was their support and through our shared governance process that we were able to identify resources for this particular center. And you have the report before you, but I wanted to just share and highlight with you very quickly some of the things that we're doing on behalf of our veterans population. We have about 120 students that we've been able to identify who are students, veteran students at College of Alameda. We know that there are more students out there. Some don't self-identify, and we're making attempts to make sure that we reach them. But a tangible expression of our commitment is that we've hired a veterans counselor to work with the students. We also have a staff assistant who provides all the certification to the veterans, and we have students themselves employed as student assistants and workers and being peer advisors. This is important because we need to create the right kind of support and infrastructure for the students themselves. We've established a Veterans Club, and we found in some of our surveys of local institutions that it's been really difficult to establish a Veterans Club. Ours has been active for a full semester now. We have over about 10, 12 students. They meet on a weekly basis, and so there's some active involvement. They're giving us a lot of good advice in terms of how do we tailor our services in the future for our students. We also are fortunate at the College of Alameda because one of our counselors in the DSPS program is a specialist in acquired brain injury, and that's important for many of our veterans returning from war and trying to make sure that they have the support, at least some of the cognitive development supports that's needed, in addition to the mental health support that we provide as well. So we're excited about all of those activities, and we're trying to raise awareness on the campus. Every month we have what's called a vet walk. faculty, staff, and some of our veteran students walk about the campus, and just to let people know that we're there, and also to recruit other students to the program. So we've begun that. We've had a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. But this past Flex Day this summer, we had someone come in and really talk about what does it take to really understand and teach to the veteran students how they process things, how they're interpreting their experience, coming from a very structured environment into a college environment. And that was a very powerful presentation that was given to our faculty and staff, and so much so that we want that gentleman to come back and provide some ongoing support for our faculty. So there's active engagement at all levels, not just with the veteran students, but with the entire campus. We're proud to say that we have identified some space on campus, too, for an actual veteran center. And working with General Services, Dr. Sadiqa Caro, we've identified not only the space, but we're also looking at putting together a construction plan, which we hope to bring back to you maybe next month, but hopefully like to break ground on that sometime in January. That will give us a place for the veteran students. We're also working with community-based organizations. We have a number of faculty that are linking us to those resources in the community, like the Sentinels of Freedom, for example, the VFWs, even the Tuskegee Airmen are going to be doing a presentation sometime next year. And part of that is I'm trying to convince my father-in-law, who's one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, to come and be a part of the groundbreaking ceremony. So our commitment is deep, our commitment is strong, and it's not just from the top, it's from the bottom up. And we're really working with the community in terms of finding additional resources for that center and to also provide a bridge for those veteran students. So with that, we're proud to make sure that we have those services in place, and we're going to be monitoring and tracking their performance, and we'll hopefully be back to you with a report in terms of their performance. Thank you.
Thank you, President Gravenberg. And that concludes the administration's reports for this evening.
Thank you. We'll move on to Board of Trustee reports. Let me start at this end here. Trustee Riley? Trustee Handy?
Yes, a couple of weekends ago, we had the opportunity to attend the 2014 BWAPA Summit. That's Black Women Organized for Political Action. And through contributions to the foundation by myself and Chancellor Ortiz, sponsorship, we were able to take 18 young women to the summit. And well, if you had Facebook, you could see the picture. But it was an amazing opportunity. We had students come in from our 4 colleges, and just to be there with the young women. Barbara Lee came in to speak. Lynette Gibson came in to speak. Quite a few people came in during the course of the day to meet with the students. There were job opportunities there, vendor opportunities. And then there was the Ella Hill Hutch event that was later on in that day. But I can tell you sincerely that all the girls thank you all so much for the opportunity to attend this, and I was really happy and proud to be there with them. They're our future leaders.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
Pass.
I just wanted to report briefly on a couple items. One is I got to attend the graduation ceremony over at College of Alameda for the Atlas program. The Atlas program is a great one of our great CTE, workforce development programs. There was a cohort of, I'd say, about 40 or so students, from what I could tell, in the 3 parts of the program there, celebrating their accomplishments. And one of the nice things was that my older brother, actually graduated from that program, so very proud of him for his accomplishment and sticking through that program and finishing up. And I think he's well prepared to take on that next step in his career search. So I want to recognize the great work that the instructors do over there, seeing firsthand the testimonies of the students. There's actually a family, a father and 2 sons, that actually received their certificates as well. So it was a whole family affair over at College of Alameda. Thank you for your leadership, Dr. Granberg, and please give my kudos to the staff of the Atlas program for the tremendous work that they do to prepare our students in these emerging areas. Thank you. And lastly, I wanted to just say how remarkable it was over the last 2 months. I mean, I've always known what impact Peralta has made in people's lives through my everyday conversations with people. But when you're going door to door, knocking on people's door, people have so many great stories to tell about Peralta and how it's changed their lives. People, either their family has taught here, they got their start here. Everyone has a connection to Peralta in one way or another. I had one person who actually told me that he's an attorney now, but he said that the best class he ever took in his life was at Laney College. After going on and getting his advanced degrees, becoming a lawyer, but he still reflects back on that one class, that one professor, that one instructor he took at Laney College, and how that changed his life. And there are so many of those stories out there that oftentimes we always focus on a lot of the negative things that are happening, but this institution is incredible. I'm proud to have been associated with it for what it does to really change people's lives. So I just wanted to point that out tonight. Thank you. Trustee Galassa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And incidentally, congratulations to you. And if Peralta is so great, why are you leaving us? But I'm quite sure that you're going to serve us very well in your new position, and we expect some money to be flowing this way very shortly. And if not, we'll be there to remind you. But it's a real leap for you. I have great confidence in you as a leader, and it was just a year ago when I was telling you to run that it would be a very good move for you, and so now I take full credit. And in addition to $200 that I gave you, I also attended the reception for Barbara Lee and the naming of the new Science Center. It was a very lovely event. I felt very proud to be there, and I must say everyone looked so glamorous. And I was proud to share in all of the excitement of that evening. I would also like to congratulate Alameda College on its search for a new president. I attended the forum for the new 4 presidents, and there's certainly a lot of rich material. It's going to be a difficult choice, and I do hope you make the right choice, but I think I was very impressed with the candidates as a whole. Congratulations are definitely in order there. And then finally, I want to congratulate the presidents for getting these accreditation report drafts together. I must say it entailed first of all, I'm glad they were digitally presented, because I think Dr. Budd, yours was the shortest at about 370 or 80 pages, and some wandered off into 600 pages. But nevertheless, I congratulate you in getting them done, and I'm very hopeful that the accreditation visitors will find the institution in good order. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez-Yan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to add my congratulations to Trustees Handy and Riley on re-election, and I look forward to welcoming our new colleague, Trustee-elect Bonilla, soon. Abel, this is we'll say our formal goodbyes in a month, but I think this is your formal, your last really full board meeting, and it's been an amazing 8 years of work with you. I think we've all benefited enormously from your leadership. Your stints as a president on this board have been at critical junctures in the institution, and I think you played important pivotal roles in steering the board, pulling the board together, and helping guide the overall institution. And I think for that we are all grateful. I think I'll share more thoughts at our next meeting, but I think I'll speak personally. I personally will miss you, but I think that is a sentiment that is widely felt within this room and throughout the district. So thank you for your service. I was also up at Merritt College with all of us, and President Ambris Galavis, thank you for playing host. The campus looked great, even in the dark, even with all that construction mess. It was a wonderful affair. And the photographs with Trustees Brown and Handy came out beautifully. Oh, everywhere. They were all over Facebook and everything.
They were selfies.
No, it was a nice affair, and I also want to in particular congratulate the marketing department for that really nice retrospective of the district, and I look forward to viewing the DVD, which I'm sure has labels of all of the participants now, so that we can actually know our history properly. It was actually kind of incredible to see people who were still in the district, who were in the district when I was a child. When I was a child. So that was actually pretty cool. That was pretty cool, and so thank you. I don't have much else to say, so I'm just going to stop right now. Thank you. Which must be a first.
Trustee.
So I just came back from the Student Senate for California Community Colleges General Assembly, Fall General Assembly in Los Angeles. Thank you, Brenda, for setting that up for me. Like a student from Berkeley City said earlier, yeah, we went through a lot of resolutions. The main part was the General Assembly where students from about 90 community colleges out of the 112 were represented. One of the big ones was a Prop 13 reform, which they would advocate to the state legislature to for big businesses to have a tax increase, so more money will go for education. Also, I wrote 2 resolutions that were also passed. Over 90% of the delegates voting passed it. One of them was an idea I got from Lisa Cook, Faculty Senate President at Laney. She gave me an idea about having the Faculty Senate President, Classified Senate President, and Student Body President at each college to sign off on SSSP plans and student equity plans, so each group is ensured that they were ensured to have active participation, opportunity to participate effectively in the development of the plans. That passed. So yeah, also attended a few weeks ago a Merritt College meeting, ASMC meeting, where they talked about a few issues they had. One of them was with their business office. They were not allowed to attend the SSCCC trip, which they missed out on a great opportunity for leadership development because they approved funds, sent the request to their business office, but it was turned back because they didn't like their procedures, which James Blake talked about earlier, that procedures are just sometimes made up. Policies and procedures are made up out of nowhere, although Ed Code 76063 states that student organizations will determine their own procedures for expending funds, but their procedures were turned down by their business manager. It's just Ed Code, though, it doesn't really mean too much, I guess. Also, I got an email saying that the other student government's funds were moved. Besides Alameda, they were already moved, so Laney College, Berkeley City, and Merritt College funds were moved to the district, although they did not approve the money to be moved. And I've emailed about this to pretty much half of the room, maybe. I didn't get too much of a reply, but yeah, this is not a decision that that Merritt College, Berkeley City, and Laney, they did not approve. I've said a lot about it. Other students have spoke up about it. We've got no resolved. We didn't get any communication about why it was still being moved, although we did not approve the moving of the money. And again, 76063 states we determine our own procedures, and now the money being at the district, we're subject to the district procedures, which would take away our right for, now our procedures are invalid. So it's kind of odd. It's just Ed Code. just students are not feeling respected. Student workers aren't feeling respected. Student leaders aren't feeling respected when when students from merit are taking time away from their education. And just to give you an idea of a student leader's life, you take classes, you pretty much have to work, and you still to do minimal work, you spend about 8-10 hours a week. And when you're not respected and not given, your rights aren't respected, your basic rights, we're talking about basic, and you're not your student leadership development is taken away from you, and you're not able to attend a conference when you've put in the time and you should be allowed to. It's pretty awful. Also, I've been getting complaints from students at colleges about the law enforcement on campus. That it's crazy that I guess I learned at a few board meetings ago that that the law enforcement is now able to suspend students without speaking to administrators. So when students are suspended, and sometimes maybe unlawfully, I wouldn't say unlawfully, but maybe they didn't need to be suspended. They're suspended and they're gone away from their classes for 2 weeks. They miss classes for 2 weeks, and they come back and meet with an administrator, and they've missed 2 weeks of classes, and they're allowed to come back on campus. They basically have to drop their class, although they're allowed to come back on class and they never needed to be suspended in the first place. So I've gotten a lot of complaints about that. I'm setting up a town hall discussion on the law enforcement on campus on December 3rd, 11 to 12:30, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. All Peralta students are able to attend and give. Everyone has 2 minutes to speak about their their feelings about the law enforcement on campus. Some may feel safe, some may feel intimidated. But it would be an opportunity for everyone to hear about how the students feel about the law enforcement on campus, and I'm asking that the sheriffs, the Alameda County sheriffs who patrol the campuses, show up and address some concerns from the students. Yep, and that's my report. Thank you.
Chancellor, just in the reports from Student Trustee Oliver, those are pretty serious concerns that were shared, and I don't think those follow the procedures that the board has, the district has in place. If you could please look into that and make sure that proper procedures are being followed. We don't give, the suspensions, that's an academic matter. It's not within the purview of law enforcement, is my understanding. So if you could look into that, please.
Not agendized, but.
We'll follow up on that.
Trustee Withrow.
I'd like to pass on congratulations to our returning colleagues and welcome aboard to our new colleague coming into our president and departing colleague. I'm not sure, having been a part of city government and city leadership, that congratulations are in order or heartfelt sympathy. I mean, you're going to have a lot of challenges ahead of you. But I'd like to talk about an article of, if you take a minute or two here. Robert Reich is attributed to be one of the leading experts on work and the economy, and he's the Chancellor's Professor of Public Policy at the Goldman School of Public Policy at UC Berkeley. He's a former professor at Harvard and at Brandeis. And he has written 13 books. He writes things all the time, but he also has a blog. And in that blog, a headline, Robert Reich, College is a Ludicrous Waste of Money. He's not necessarily been one of the people that I consider to be an idol. But this week, per Robert Reich, millions of young people head to college and universities aiming for a 4-year liberal arts degree. They assume that degree is the only gateway to the American middle class. It shouldn't be. For one thing, a 4-year liberal arts degree is hugely expensive. Too many young people graduate laden with debts that take years, if not decades, to pay off. And too many of them can't find good jobs when they graduate. So they have to settle for jobs that don't require 4 years of college. They end up overqualified and underemployed and undercompensated. Others drop out of college because they're either unprepared or unsuited for a four-year liberal arts curriculum. When they leave, they feel like failures. We need to open up other gateways to the middle class. Consider, for example, technician jobs. They don't require a four-year degree, but they do require mastery over a domain of technical knowledge that can usually be obtained in 2 years. Technician jobs are growing in importance as digital equipment replaces the jobs of routine workers and lower-level professionals. Technicians are needed to install, monitor, repair, test, and upgrade all the equipment. Hospital technicians are needed to monitor ever more complex equipment that now fills medical centers, office technicians to fix the hardware, and software responsible for much of the work that used to be done by secretaries and clerks. Automobile technicians are in demand to repair the software that now powers our cars. Manufacturing technicians to upgrade the numerically controlled machines and 3D printers that have replaced assembly lines. Laboratory technicians to install and test complex equipment for measuring results. Telecommunication technicians to install, upgrade, and repair the digital systems linking us to one another. Technology is changing so fast that knowledge about specifics can quickly become obsolete. That's why so much of what a technician learns is on the job. But to be an effective on-the-job learner, technicians need basic knowledge of software and engineering along the domain where technology is applied: hospitals, offices, automobiles, manufacturing, laboratories, telecommunications, and so forth. Yet America isn't educating technicians we need. As our aspirations increasingly focus on four-year college degrees, we've allowed our vocational and technical education to be downgraded and denigrated. Still, we have a foundation to build on. Community colleges offering two-year degree programs today enroll more than half of all college and university undergraduates. Many students are full-time jobs, taking courses at night, as we all know, and on weekends, etc. Community colleges are great bargains. They avoid the fancy amenities of four-year liberal arts colleges needed in order to lure the children of the middle class. Even so, community colleges are being systematically starved of funds. On a per-student basis, state legislators direct most higher education funding to four-year colleges and universities because that's what their middle-class constituents want them to do. American businesses, for their part, aren't sufficiently involved in designing community college curricula, in hiring their graduates, because their executives are usually the products of four-year liberal arts institutions and don't know the value of community colleges. By contrast, Germany provides the students the alternative of world-class technical education that's kept the German economy at the forefront of precision manufacturing and applied technology. The skills taught are based on industry standards and courses designed by businesses that need the graduates. So when young Germans get their degrees, jobs are waiting for them. But we can do far better than we're doing now. One option: combine the last year of high school with the first year of community college into a curriculum to train technicians for the new economy. Affected industries would help design the courses and promise jobs to students who finish successfully. Late bloomers can go on to get their associate degrees, and many will transfer to a four-year liberal arts university. This way, we provide many people who cannot or do not want to pursue a four-year degree with the fundamentals they need to succeed, creating another gateway to the middle class. Too often, in modern America, we equate equal opportunity with an opportunity to get a four-year liberal arts degree. It should mean an opportunity to learn and learn how to learn what's necessary to get a good job. I would hope that our strategic planning throughout our institution channels on a lot of the issues that Robert Reich, and I was very, very surprised to hear and see what he wrote. Quite frankly, I've had an interchange with the gentleman. But I would hope that our strategic planning process incorporates the thrust of what he's driving at here in this. And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Trustee Galassa, do you have another?
Yes, I just quickly, I failed to congratulate my colleagues here on their reelection, so it's really nice to see you guys. I would have been very disappointed if you hadn't won. And Riley, I'm sort of looking forward to working with you.
Thank you kindly, as usual.
We've had a good time, but especially welcome to Jelena. I really am looking forward to working with you, and you had a real tough campaign, and you and our board members were one of the few bright spots on November 4th when I read the news. One last comment. Robert Reich, remember, spoke at Berkeley City College not too long ago, and he was a great speaker. And one of the major things, however, is we don't have differential funding in California, and you need differential funding to really make your STEM and CTE classes go. Across the nation, there is differential funding depending on the cost of the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on.
Mr. President, just briefly.
Trustee Riley.
Just thank you. So on this issue that was brought up by the student trustee regarding law enforcement, is it possible to get an update within the next 24 hours regarding that issue about students being suspended?
Can you provide an update to the question around law enforcement suspension of students to the board within the next 24 hours? In writing, by email?
Yes, we can,
All right,
because the current policies we have does not allow police to do what is being said. So it's an easy question. We're going to provide solution or an answer to the Chancellor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to follow up. You know, Trustee Aller has been raising this issue, so I'm not going to go into it in detail because it's not agendized, but he's been raising this issue about student funding and access to student funding for over a year, and I think it would be appropriate at this point to get a report at the next board meeting on the status of student funds. Now, I'm just one trustee, and I can't, force that, but I think this issue is ripe personally, and I would like to ask if the board officers would work with the Chancellor in the agenda setting to see whether that might be a possibility for our next meeting, or very, very soon, because I'm tired of hearing it, and I'm sure Trustee Oliver is tired of saying it. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item, which is District Academic Senate Report. Dr. Van Putten.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no District Academic Senate report tonight.
You sure? It's only 8:30. All right. Next item is presentations. We have a accreditation presentation. Chancellor Ortiz.
This evening we have a brief summary on each of the colleges' draft self-evaluations that are being submitted for board approval in December. These self-evaluations will be submitted to the Accreditation Commission in January. But we wanted the college presidents to give you a brief synopsis of what their self-evaluations have found. Unfortunately, Dr. Webb from Laney College is unable to attend this evening. She's out ill, and I would suggest that she can come back in December and give you her update. But board members do have in their Dropbox a copy of the reports themselves, and I will ask Dr. Gravenberg to be first, give you that brief synopsis.
Thank you, Chancellor. Board members, this past year, all of us have been really going through a process of involving the campus at all levels, getting prepared for institutional self-study. We're challenged because, on one hand, we had our accreditation reaffirmed, and it's really difficult sometimes to overcome what we call accreditation fatigue. But I am proud to say that at all of our campuses, and College of Alameda in particular, that our faculty, staff, and students have risen to the occasion. We have spent a lot of time looking at our processes, making sure that we had the right structures in place, and making sure that we're involving everyone in the shared governance process. our new Vice President for Instruction, put together an online survey in which he asked people to comment on various sections of the accreditation self-study. And that was very important because most of the times when you ask people to comment online, they're commenting and they may not necessarily direct you to the particular area. So he was able to calibrate it in such a way that they could comment on the specific standard, and that was enormously helpful. It was helpful because it was not only just faculty and staff, but students had that opportunity to participate as well. So we made sure through weekly meetings of the steering committee and weekly updates to the campus, making sure that accreditation was on the agenda of every meeting that we had at the campus, from the senior leadership team to student government to classified council to academic senate to all the shared governance groups. That's important because it's a living and breathing document and everybody must participate in the process. And also we're able to spread out some of the workload. We had 3 co-chairs, 2 faculty and 1 classified staff. And I'm proud to say that the classified staff person was the first one to volunteer. And our faculty colleagues joined shortly thereafter. So there's a lot of enthusiasm around making sure that we had the right energy, the right momentum moving forward to do this analysis. So we spent all of the last year developing those drafts and also meeting with the various campus constituents. And I want to just highlight for you some of those standards and selected accomplishments that we were able to achieve by standard. Real quickly, Standard 1, institutional mission and effectiveness. We were able to review and reaffirm our mission, values, and vision statement for the college. Prior to that, the college had put in a tremendous amount of time re-examining their mission statement. I think Dr. Jackson and the college community put enough energy into that people felt that they were comfortable in reaffirming those values, that we wanted to make sure that we were consistent and make sure that everyone was involved in terms of reaffirming those values as well. We also are now conducting a study of our institutional effectiveness. We have an institutional effectiveness coordinator who's appointed half-time faculty person that begins to look at the SLOs in all of the departments and works with our accrediting team to make sure that we're meeting those standards as well. Like all of the campuses, we're aligning our district goals, aligning our goals and objectives to the district goals and objectives. I spent a considerable amount of time with College Council taking a look at our committee structure because we have so many committees over the year that we have this proliferation sometimes. And we all agreed that there were more committees than we had people to staff them. So we had some honest discussion about what's the best ways to go about that. And through that shared governance process, there were some committees that we put in hiatus, there were some committees that we revived, and some committees that we collapsed. For example, there wasn't Triple SP many years ago, so how did we want to capture that particular aspect? So we're able to do that. We got that affirmed. It took about a year to get that done, but we feel real good that everybody had a chance to participate. The other things that we've done and have done is in terms of the integrated planning and budget process itself, looking at our internal processes. We reaffirmed what we had done in the previous years. Prior to, I think, around 2009, the college was really kind of taken to task about not being clear and consistent in terms of its planning priorities. Since that time, the college has moved forward and strengthened that, and WASC, as the accrediting body, has reaffirmed that. We added 2 additional layers. One, we added a template for people for making decisions, to say, at the College Council, how we were going to prioritize the resources, how we're going to prioritize our tasks. We also put into place a budget planning calendar that matched the district. These things provided more clarity for folks so that they knew what they were involved in terms of the shared governance process. When we look at Standard 2, Student Learning Programs and Services, our Vice President for Student Services conducted, with the help of the National Center for Student Engagement, a survey of our students and how they felt about the services that they were getting. How did they feel about the instruction that they were getting? And our students give our faculty very high marks. What they do want more of is probably more faculty time. And in terms of not just advising, but time out of the classroom itself. And that's always a challenge. We finalized 9 of our AST degrees. We started out a little bit in a hole, but we were able to reach all of the targets for that. That's going to aid and abet students in terms of transferring to the UC and the CSU systems. I think most of you are aware that the focus on student equity, the past funding, has brought about tremendous interest in terms of our own SSSP and student success. In addition to the programs that we have in place, we were able to put in place a number of other programs, and we've mentioned and had reports on them at this board, for this board. And that would include the Alameda Promise Project, the Men of Color Initiative, the Brotherhood, our Pathways to Law School, Open Gate, and Veterans Resources. And we've had some healthy discussions with faculty about course acceleration and contextualization. Those things have lent themselves to look at how do we support students, how do we support faculty and staff to support students. So we've had some very robust and powerful and positive conversations. We've hired new faculty. We're very grateful that we were able to put some faculty in place as well as some new staff members as well. Although I think we all would admit that we probably need a lot more staff to carry some of that heavy load that the work has gone on. And our staff currently are just doing a fantastic job, but they certainly need some support. We're looking at our online and distance education programs. In fact, today, 2 of our faculty members conducted a focus group in terms of best practices regarding online educational programs. And we're beginning to compile all that data as well. Regarding leadership and governance, it was really important for me and the senior team to make sure that we provided the conditions by which people can be effective. And while we have our shared governance process, I felt that we needed to do more. Many times, a lot of our faculty and staff are busy and can't attend some of the college council meetings. So we created 2 venues. One was Colleagues in Conversation, which was an opportunity for people to talk about topical issues such as block scheduling, how do we strengthen pedagogy, and how, for example, will the new SSSP impact everyone on the campus. So those are very provocative topics that gave everybody more of an opportunity to provide input. Our drop-in office hours, we had senior leadership team advances that was very inclusive, and we also needed to recognize the good work of our faculty and staff, so we created an awards and incentive program that has had tremendous impact in terms of the morale on the campus itself. Currently, we're updating our institutional planning handbook, and we're looking forward to putting in place some other kinds of surveys for students. We have a customer service survey that's really directed at students to make sure that the services that they're getting are consistent and of high quality, and if they're not, we have a process by which we can get back to students and make sure that their issues are addressed within 72 hours. Usually it's faster than that. So we're really trying to improve our processes and the culture of our institution. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to entertain any questions if time permits.
So we'd like to move on to Dr. Ambridge Galaviz for Merritt College.
In trying to respect everybody's time, I've set my little timer for 10 minutes so I can try to be reminded, if you don't mind. As Dr. Gravenberg mentioned, this process has been ongoing, it seems, since my arrival, since those almost 2 years ago. As mentioned earlier, the affirmation of the college itself, and then beginning the process for the full self-evaluation. So you first start, and Merritt had to start with recognizing its prior recognitions or recommendations. So primarily, the college back then was noted that it needed to focus on program review and performance evaluations. So I feel that those are 2 areas in which, in my short time, I can affirm that that has been ongoing, not only district but also college-wide. So it was good to see that continuing. So then we proceeded on to take a look at affirming, what is it that we are doing and that people really feel we acknowledge or should acknowledge more of. And we started off with our mission statement and broadening that, and we hope to continue to broaden that because we do have a lot of online learners. So we want to make sure that that group is acknowledged. We went into institutional effectiveness in regards to the data-driven type of decisions, increasing transparency, but also more importantly, that a lot of our objectives are based on student learning outcomes. And so that's prevalent in many of the segments, that we are trying to make sure everything is linked, everything from institution to the courses themselves. Then we went on to instructional programs, affirming, the excellent instructional programs that we have, the high quality of the offerings in the various modes, the hybrid, the face-to-face, and the traditional, and recognizing that we're serving diverse student populations with different needs. Added to that, of course, with that diverse student population requires the support services. So again, how does merit make a difference in student lives, and their success requires additional support and the types of specialized support efforts that the college is able to offer there. As you know, we recently were able to reopen our Merritt College Library due to the renovation. I believe that our students enjoy a better learning environment, support area, with the expansion and the addition of a learning center. If you haven't had a chance, I hope in one of these opportunities to have you go and visit. It's a fantastic new facility now, and supporting our students with supplemental instruction and reinforcing the students. I have to make a note, our athletic program has just introduced a student support area where our athletes have to go and do study sessions in there. The coach takes the sign up, and they all show up there. So that's the type of facilities that you want be utilized on a consistent basis and offered to the staff. In addition to that, we went on to the resources, everything from the staffing, our facilities, technology, the refresh program, as you all are familiar with, the resources of what we are provided with, and acknowledging that we could always use more and hope to receive more as our student body increases. Lastly, our decision-making process, reaffirming that we are active with participatory governance, and that we do seek college-wide input, and recognizing that we are in the coming year going to reaffirm and update our educational planning. But as I mentioned, as we acknowledge what we're doing, we then have to also acknowledge or identify areas that we have to improve. And I'm just going to name a couple of them for you. We call them in our report actionable improvement plans that by ACCJC standards we're supposed to work on and achieve within a 2-year period. So we start off with in Standard 1, which has to do with mission and institutional effectiveness. One, researching the feasibility of expanding online program offerings, actually offering full-length programs online. In addition to that, I mentioned the updating of the educational master plan and strategic planning. Our master plan is just coming to a close in the spring of 2015, so we do need to update it. And that's where we're going to be able to identify a lot of specific strategies that we can entertain in the years to come. In Standard 2, where we have a lot of the instruction and student support areas, we have everything from developing and updating a student behavioral manual and going into the implementation of student success plan, student equity plan, and seeing how effective we're going to be able to implement those. Again, with that, of course, we want to evaluate how we're doing. So we feel that we really want to advocate and hope to secure a researcher, a research data specialist to complement what the district is already providing us. As you move on to the standard, we also have, as I mentioned, a remodeled the library, and that library would like for us to update its collection. So we would like, and they would ask, that we secure some additional funding and hopefully reroute some dollars to expand that collection for them. And we plan to focus on that in this coming year. The college, also in standard, as we get into 3, we talked everything from facilities, and we talked about identifying ways on how we can identify the total cost of ownership of 60-year-old buildings, and I think we've mentioned that before. How do we provide the needed services for the college itself? As we continued with the standard, we talked about how do we develop our own faculty and staff and administrators? You know, sometimes we need to consider offering opportunities for increased leadership, where some of our own may be interested in expanding their leadership. That's what we do with our students, provide them opportunities through AMC to create and really explore leadership roles. So the same thing that we offer to our other staff through faculty and classified and other administrators. And lastly, under the board area, we see ourselves continuing to promote the learning outcomes that are focused, very student-centered, and make that across the board on the campus. And again, respecting the structure that we have of participatory governance, everything from the chancellor and the board and the colleges, and having that active communication and respect to our policies and board. So I would tell you that it's not at an end yet. I wish I could say that. It's still, as we mentioned, draft form, and we will finalize it for you in December. Okay?
Thank you. Dr. Budd.
Thank you. And Dr. Budd, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Ortiz and board. I'll try not to repeat everything that was said because, as we know, we all have to meet the standards, and so much of the report and the process is similar. But I did want to highlight a couple of things. As was mentioned by my colleagues, you know, accreditation is an ongoing process, and it's really about documenting and being able to show the evidence that you are an effective institution. It's meeting those 4 standards, you know, with the mission and the institutional effectiveness. It's meeting the standards with the instruction and academic and student support programs and library. It's meeting all of the resource standards, whether it's with the technology or facilities or human resources or financial resources, and it's with the oversight of the board as well as the administration with the guidance. And so Berkeley City College has completed its process. Trustee Galassa will have to make sure you have the right document because ours is currently 486 pages. Yeah. And but I want to say that it would not be possible to do this without all the faculty, staff, and administrative team. And I really want to highlight and thank Dr. Mei Chen, our Vice President of Student Services, for serving as the Accreditation Liaison Officer. She has worked tirelessly. May, just stand up and give a wave, would you please? Really incredible work. Thank you. And Jenny Lowood, our faculty, who's really involved. I mean, it has been, they stepped up when we had the follow-up report in 2013 and have continued the work to bring all of the faculty and staff together in the writing and, you know, sharing the work. We have Jennifer Kennedy, who's helped us with some editing, and it is very close to our finished document. I am happy to say we absolutely meet the standards, we meet the eligibility requirements, and we have addressed the previous recommendations. Just to highlight what those were, in the past, those recommendations were ensuring action plans and implementation plan, student learning outcomes and assessment, which we've been on top of for years, ensuring that the library has resources, which tends to be a common thread that we hear, ensuring the resource allocation and staffing plan, and then as we all know that we addressed in 2013, ensuring that we met eligibility requirement 5 for administrative capacity and the fiscal capacity. So as we finished the writing of the entire document, we've shared it college-wide with the faculty, staff, and students at different forums, 4 different times to break up the different standards. And I thought I would just highlight for you briefly, we have currently 6, we're calling them AIPs, so you can remember it, Actionable Improvement Plans. They used to just be called action plans, so if you think AIP, that's what it is. So the Actionable Improvement Plans, we've combine them into themes, and they are, ensuring our planning process is complete and integrated. We are updating our educational master plan, and what I'm really proud of is everybody who's doing the work is realizing that it's not all these separate plans, they're all integrated. Whether it's the SSSP plan, or our equity plan, or our educational master plan, or facilities plan, or technology plan, or ultimately our self-evaluation that we're doing. They all tie in to look at what we're doing to help students succeed and ensuring that we have data to provide support and make changes when needed. So that's one piece of integrating all of those plans. Also ensuring that we fully implement the SSSP plan that has funding with that, as well as our equity plan. I do want to give a shout out to Dean Brenda Johnson and Dr. Carlos Cortez, who have worked tirelessly with our equity plan. We have an incredible document that we'll look forward to sharing with you in December. And it has really helped with a lot of discussion. As our ASBCC mentioned, we did a town hall that our Black Student Union and Latino Club helped bring together a panel and really highlighted things that are working well and things that they're seeing are keeping that equity gap and achievement gap in place and what we can do to make changes. So I'm really thrilled with some of the activities that have been developed and look forward to that really strengthening our institution as well as the district as a whole. Certainly, ensuring that we publicize our budget calendars and the funding available, as well as tying that in with the budget allocation model, fully implementing that. Certainly with standard 3B, with the facilities. One of our actionable improvement plans is to ensure we have the facilities to serve our students, so ideally having an additional facility. And then lastly, updating technology and the wireless capacity that I think is a common thread across all of the campuses. So I think you all have quite a bit of evening reading you could do at your leisure, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you what we have to date.
Thank you. Chancellor?
I want to thank the college presidents for putting together this brief report. And look, we all look forward to the final edition of this self-evaluation. If the board is so inclined, we'll, at our next meeting, have approval of those documents, and Dr. Webb will be here to give a Laney brief, and we look forward to the accreditation visit in March. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez-Yan.
Thank you very much for the summaries of the reports, and I think we all appreciate the opportunity for self-reflection. I think one thing that's not quite appreciated is the opportunity costs, though. I think it would be a useful addition to all of our accreditation reports to document how many person hours we've spent on this. My guess, it's in the tens of thousands of person hours. And if we just sort of ballpark that at $50 an hour, which would be kind of the least expensive way of doing it. Of course, we don't even pay people to do it, so that's part of the problem. But I think putting a dollar cost on the process of self-evaluation and so forth would be a highly useful exercise. And in fact, I think if all 113 colleges in the state did it, so that we could really look at what this cost is and then begin to assess the benefit of it. I think we all understand there's some benefit, but if we can take the lead and begin to document the person hours that are put in, I think that would be a fabulous addition and taking leadership in raising these questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to add our time in reading them?
Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, which is a Clearly Act disclosure of campus security presentation. And this is presented by Vice Chancellor Caro and Lieutenant Kraft. Vice Chancellor. And this presentation is in compliance with the annual Security Clearly Act report that we're required to do as an educational institution.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Board of Trustees, college presidents, Vice Chancellors, the Chancellor, and of course, members of the public. Tonight, we're going to discuss quickly the Clery Act with the public, which is a requirement for all colleges that receive financial aid from the federal government to provide this information and post it appropriately for students and members of the public so that they can be able to have access to this information. So I thought I'd use this opportunity for Peralta Police Services to give a quick overview of what they do around here in the district and how that is relative to other community colleges in terms of crimes statistics. So this evening I have the pleasure to introduce our Lieutenant Ellis Kraft, and also we have Sergeant David Bonnell to do the presentation. Eric Kraft, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carl. How do we turn the slides? The space button should work. Okay. Good evening. Excuse me. As Dr. Carl said, I'm Lieutenant Ellis Kraft, and this is my sidekick, Sergeant Dave Bonnell. And the way we decided to approach this is I'm going to give you guys a snapshot or a brief synopsis of Peralta Police Services in general to give you an idea of what we do and staffing and things like that. And then Sergeant Bonnell, he's directly involved in the Clery process as far as police services are concerned. And he submits the numbers and the data, and he can give you guys an idea of how Clery works. Some of the laws have changed in regards to Clery, and you guys need to be aware of that as well. Briefly, that's just our mission statement. Just an overview. You want to look at that quickly. And this is the scope of our work. It's not all that we do, but it gives you an idea of what our guys do on any given day. They stay pretty busy, and the ancillary duties could be anything from football games to VIPs coming to your various campuses and what have you. This is our availability. What I have right now is I have a shift of deputies that come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they get off at 3 o'clock p.m. And then we have another group that comes on at 3 p.m., and they get off at 11 o'clock. After 11 o'clock, there's no more deputies on duty, but I do have a sheriff's technician assigned to our monitor, and they're like a de facto dispatcher, if you will, and they're there 24 hours, 7 days a week. And my guys aren't here on the weekends or the holidays. And that second bullet there, the AC Transit Airport and the Marine Patrol units, they do help us if an incident becomes very involved. If I don't have enough resources, they will send guys over to help us out. This gives you an idea of how our staffing was in fiscal year 2009 and 2010, and what it is now from 2010 to present. So we actually have taken a pretty substantial cut in staffing as of late. And with 7 deputies, they answer a total, as you can see, over 3,000 calls for service per year. They write over 600 reports a year. You see the arrests that they make, quite a few arrests. Those are the citations. And the field interrogation cards, those are basically just almost like an interview card. If I make contact with a suspicious person or what have you, we'll document that. So if we have additional contact with that person, he or she can't plead ignorance or what have you. And just keep in mind, we handle all that with just seven deputies, 4 in the daytime and 3 in the evening. So they earn their money. And as Dr. Carl was saying, these are the crime stats up until 2012 of our college, Peralta Community College District, and the neighboring colleges as well. And as you can see, the numbers are pretty similar in many areas, but there's a few that jump out at you, like the burglaries, the assaults, and things like that. But we do have a larger district in comparison to some of those colleges listed. And Contra Costa County College is a pretty large district as well. This Yes Means Yes Assembly bill that was signed by Governor Brown, this actually had an impact on what Sergeant Barnell does as far as the Clery Act. It expanded some of the incidents that we have to report. And that's the bill. I won't read the entire bill. And basically, in synopsis says, Governor Jerry Brown signed the Yes Means Yes bill into law. The key premise of the new law states that colleges that receive state funds must agree that affirmative consent is needed for sexual encounters. And also, I'll read the last one. The Office of the General Service, the VPs from all the respective campuses, legal, and my office are collectively working on policy and administrative procedure to ensure that the Peralta Community College District is in compliance with these new statutes. And Sergeant Barnell is going to do the Clery Act, and I'll be back for questions.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Presidents. Probably the first time I think I've been standing up here. I've been assigned to Peralta Community College for the last almost 2 years, so my first opportunity up here. When I came on here as a sergeant, one of my first tasks was actually to gather all the statistics for the Clery Act. And I apologize if all of you know exactly what this is in the public. Maybe some do, some don't, but I'm going to give a little synopsis of kind of how this kind of came about. Back in 1986, 19-year-old college student Jean Clery attended Lehigh University. She was raped and murdered in her dorm. I believe there was they had the doors open. There was kind of been propped open. Another student from the campus came on, and you know, the rest is kind of history on that. What the parents found out as they tried to follow up on this is that there was no real true way of finding out that Lehigh had a very high crime statistics going. The only way you could do that was through the FBI. Well, we all know that could be real difficult on getting that information. So what they did in the next 3 years, they kind of went through Congress and to try to make this public knowledge for any parent or student that wanted to attend a 2-year college or a university on what type of crime statistics actually occur. In 1991, I think it was signed into law. In 1992, they actually renamed it the Jean Clery Act. Through the course of that point, they had certain guidelines that were met, typically murder, assault, sexual assault, and we're going to kind of show them up here. But in 2008, they actually kind of amended it and brought up certain changes regarding emergency response, which actually kind of came within the school. That really didn't put the burden on law enforcement for the school or for the college. It actually became part of the college's responsibility. It also warning protocols, and it also added hate crime reports. There we go. Okay. So what's happened now is in 2013, as part of the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act, came out the SAVE Act as part of the SAVE Act as well, that added 3 more mandated reporting requirements, which I actually highlighted in the bottom. Now what that did is that became effective when I reported this year by October 1st. These 3 were not on the ASR, which is the annual security report that I'm mandated to file within the federal government. So what they've done is they've asked us, we have to do a due diligent effort to add it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add it to the booklet, the handout book that goes to all the students or the students that want them. We'll be adding it on for this coming new year. Probably it'll be printed in January, February. At that point, that'll be our part of our due diligence. But effective next October, it actually will be on the ASR at that point. You know, so really that's the only changes that have taken effect. And that's, I guess I'm not moving along, am I on it? So, I'm not really good at these. I'm better at talking. So at this point, I mean, what I've seen in 2 years, I never didn't know what Clery was when I started. Kind of took it, you know, by its horns, and have learned a lot the last 2 years. At this point, you know, it's a lot of work. We have to work with 3 different agencies. We have to work with Alameda. We have to work with OPD. We have to work with Berkeley, and then we actually have to go over our own reports. And as you see, we take a lot of reports over the course of the year, and we break it all down. So, oops, I guess that is it on that. So, with that being said, any questions?
Trustees, any questions this evening on the Clery Act? Trustee, was this in our Dropbox? I don't think it was.
No. We're going to be sending this to your Dropbox.
Great.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yan.
Thank you. This isn't so much about the Clery Act, but other reporting items, and thank you very much for the report, and thank you and your officers for helping to keep us safe. You know, Trustee Oliver has raised some issues that I think the administration is going to follow up with, but my question, maybe it won't seem so serious in comparison to murder and rape and robbery, but it is a serious public health issue, and that has to do with smoking on campuses. I noticed we didn't keep data on this, but if you take a passing stroll on any number of our campuses, and in particular I just was the other day at Laney campus, and it doesn't take very long before you start noticing literally thousands and thousands of cigarette butts that are on our campuses. Now, of course, and you see many students actually in clear violation of the no smoking ordinances. We have the ability to warn and then cite and then fine students. Can you tell me how many warnings we have issued on our campuses for smoking and how many citations we have issued? I asked this about a year ago, didn't get a response at that time, so I'm taking the opportunity to ask again.
Sorry. Yes, we do have that data, and I'll email it to you. There's been several warnings. I know there's at least been 2 citations, and every time we make contact, when I talk about the field interview cards, those contacts are documented, and there's a notation written on there, individual stop for smoking. Now, as far as all the cigarette butts on campus and what have you, going back to our staffing, if we're not notified of it, it's difficult because, you know, in uniform, the likelihood of individuals smoking in front of him is very slim. So we hear about it afterwards. So if someone is saying, oh, well, we got a big, huge smoking problem in the forum, but if I'm not physically in the forum, I won't be aware of it. But when we get there, if we get called, we address it, and we always have.
Well, you know, thank you for the response. I look forward to a more thorough report, and with the indulgence of the board, I would like to ask you know, if this is of concern to the board, to ask the chancellor to work with the sheriff's department to come up with a plan, because I find it actually sort of incredible, the idea that our sheriffs don't see smokers on campus, given the literally tens of thousands of cigarette butts on the campus. You would have to be blind. Even if you were in full uniform, you would have to be blind not to see smoking on campus. You know, so I find it incredible. But
Trustee, let me say this. What is going on essentially is that the Sheriff Department, Parata Police Services, does submit a monthly report to the Department of General Services of the citation that are warning that you are given to individuals. What we have observed in the last 1 year is that those who got warning made sure that the next time that they smoke again, that they were not in the premises smoking within the college. Either they've gone to the sidewalk, to the city area to smoke. So therefore, you're not getting, it was only in one case that we got a student who had gotten a warning, and then he got another citation in itself. So some of the data you saw about number of cars were actually students. Then we also find out that in some college, there were times when the smoking was actually taking place, like around break time, like this is at Mary College. Like around break time, about noon, or in the evening, about 6:30. So what we've done right now is to target that time frame whereby we have a deputy get out of the cruiser and go between building P and building Q, where some of those cigarette butts might be, to be able to see that this is not occurring. So therefore, we are working on this. It's work in progress. There have been warnings that have been given out, and my department does have data on the monthly warnings about this subject matter. But we are seeing changes in behavior about those that have been given warnings in the past. Yeah.
Trustee Handy.
And if I may, trustee, real quick, I did not say that we don't see smokers. I said the likelihood of an individual smoking in front of a uniformed officer after he or she's been warned is very slim. Because my guys, if they drive up in the forum in their cruisers, the guys that smoke, they're gonna disappear. If we see guys smoking, if I see a guy smoking, I'll cite him. I'll warn him. We all do. We do that. We know how serious you guys take this, and we move on it when we observe it. But it's just very difficult to police smokers.
Trustee Handy.
Yeah, I fully understand both sides of it. I know that there are people who smoke and it is an addiction. And I have asthma, and so if there's someone smoking on the street, I can't walk through that door, I can't walk through that area, and I get very, very offended because here are people that I don't know who are going to affect my next breaths. But when I took classes at Laney in the evening, I was surprised to see people standing there smoking under the no smoking sign. Is it realistic for us not to have a designated smoking area in light of the fact that smoking is an addiction, especially on a campus as large as Merritt and as remote as Merritt? Are we being realistic in thinking that someone is going to have their last cigarette before they get up to the campus and then not have another one until they leave? I really don't support smoking at all, but in terms of being realistic and protecting our students from having to be exposed to smoking area, if it's not working for us and we're finding all these butts, maybe we really need to look at what other campuses are doing across the country and see what types of campaigns are really successful. I don't think that that people don't see it as a crime. It's just that there's so many other things that are going on. But true, if you are, when you see a police officer, is that when you're going to commit that illegal U-turn or whatever? No, you're going to do it when they're not around. So I think that maybe we just need to look at what else could we do to really support our students in not smoking on campus or finding some designated areas.
So, thank you for that. Any other questions related to the Clearly Act? Not smoking, but anything else related to the Clearly Act?
Just one last thing. I want to just take the moment to say thank you for 2 years here at Peralta. Friday's my last day, so I came in here to kind of finish it off here, but I've enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure with all the presidents, spending time with them and with you all. Some of you I do know, some of you I don't. The Chancellor, Twee. So again, it's been a pleasure. So I may come back on, help out a little bit for the Cleary, for the new sergeant that'll be coming in. So he's not set like I was when I first came in here 2 years ago. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the consent calendar. I understand the issues with number 24 and 25 have been resolved. Actually, 24 and 25 have been resolved. So without objection to the board, I'd like to include those items, number 24 and 25, as part of the consent calendar.
24 and 26.
I'm sorry.
25 and 26.
I'm sorry, number 25 and number 26. Number 25, for the record, is consider approval to purchase 2 existing portable buildings located at the District Admin Center from Williams and Scotsman. That's number 25. And number 26 is consider approval of resolution 415-16, accept bid and award contract for Laney College Building A Chemistry Labs. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
There's a motion to approve the consent calendar. I do have a speaker on item number 14. Item number 14 is consider approval of GovernNet contract to implement curricula net meta with modules. Dr. Van Putten.
Thank you, Mr. President. This afternoon at the District Academic Senate meeting, I was directed by motion to request that a sentence be removed from the explanatory blurb for item 14 on tonight's agenda. It begins on the 5th line from the bottom of the first paragraph, quote, "It was also approved by the Academic Senate," end quote. The Academic Senate did not approve this item, so that statement should be removed.
Thank you for that information. Board, are you ready to vote on the consent calendar?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We move on to the action calendar. Action calendar, item number is number 28, as we've taken care of action number 24, 25, and 26. Number 9 we've pulled. Action calendar item number 9 is consider approval of purchase and sale agreement of $6,188,000 for 2118 Milvia Street located in the city of Berkeley.
Mr. President, may I have the honor of moving this item?
Moved by trustee Nikki Gonzalez-Yan. Is there a second? Second by trustee Brown. Discussion on this item. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Seeing no other business before the board, do we have any announcements?
I'll need to repeat the readout for the closed session and include the votes with the names of the board members. Recommendation to appoint Lasada Hotep as Dean of Special Programs and Grants, Merritt College, effective November 19th, 2014 through June 30th, 2016, at $118,651 annually. 6 yeses, 1 abstain. Trustee Handy. Recommend to appoint Amy H. Lee as Dean of Enrollment Services, College of Alameda, effective November 19th, 2014 through June 30th, 2016, at $123,810 annually. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Trustee Handy. Recommendation to extend the appointment of Myron Jordan as Interim Dean of Academic Pathways and Student Success, College of Alameda, effective December 24th, 2014 through January 30th, 2015, or until the position is filled on a regular basis at $113,493 annually. 6 yes, 1 abstain. Trustee Handy. A recommendation to appoint Karen Engel as Director of Economic and Workforce Development, effective November 19th, 2014 through June 30th, 2016, at $144,445 annually. 4 yes, 3 noes. Trustees Brown, Handy, and Riley. The board adopted the arbitrator's decision in the disciplinary matter of a classified employee. 6 yes. Announcements. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on December 9th at the district offices. The board wishes all a happy Thanksgiving holiday. As a reminder, Peralta will be closed on Thursday, November 27th, and Friday, November 28th, in observance of Thanksgiving. And congratulations again to Trustees Riley and Handy on their reelection. Congratulations to Trustee Guillen on his move to the Oakland City Council. And congratulations again to Trustee Jelena Bonilla on her election to the Peralta Board of Trustees.
Thank you so much. Is there a
Mr.
motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just for clarification, the arbitrator decision was the vote 6-1 or 7-0?
It was
7-0.
Thank you very much.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Without objection, meeting is adjourned at 9:22.